Welcome back to the MyLatinLife podcast. Since 2014, MyLatinLife has been your trusted guide to traveling and living in Latin America. Our guest today is Herman from GoblinCards.com. This is a no KYC debit card for global private transactions. And Herman's an expat in Mexico as well. He left Siberia, Russia, for Mexico in 2022. And he's, building his business in Mexico. So we welcome Herman to the podcast. How's it going, man? How's it going, man?
It's going really well. Thank you. Thank you for having me on. It's a pleasure to be on it.
You in Mexico City right now?
I am in Mexico City. I moved here about a year ago. And your channel, MyLatinLife, I've been following that for quite some time. My Canadian friend introduced me to you and the channel and the community, which is a beautiful community, to be honest, what you've built. It's great.
Thanks, man. I love it. And you're in Mexico City at the moment, but you kind of got your start in Playa, or you kind of split your time?
Exactly, yeah. Well, we moved in 2022 when the war started down in Russia. And first place we visited is Playa del Carmen. And we loved it and we stayed there. The crypto community and the expat community is really welcoming there.
Good. That's awesome. And by the way, I don't know how my audio sounds. I'm doing a bit of a makeshift setup, just a FYI for the audience. But yeah, we've been connected, Herman, for I think over a year now. You're helping some of our clients and people in the community with like OTC swaps or crypto cash swaps or whatever in Playa del Carmen. So that's kind of how I know you originally. And then you created this business called GoblinCards.com, which I think is pretty interesting in a couple different ways. I think a lot of people in our audience would be interested in something like this. We talk a lot about Bit Refill, which has been a sponsor of the podcast, and I guess it's probably a competitor with you guys, or at least there's some overlap or synergy there. But people should always have multiple cards anyway, of course, if they're interested in diversification. So I think that's healthy.
Yeah, that's exactly right. When we moved, we looked for businesses to open in Mexico, and we noticed a big exchange rate difference. So even if you go outside to the official exchanges, you can see a really big spread between the buy and the sell of the dollar in Mexico specifically. It's around 5%. The market here is 5%, and that's not seen in most places of the world. So we set up our own OTC exchange to help people facilitate transactions. And over time, it just grew into Goblin Cards as a next logical step because it's, first of all, way easier to use a card. And second of all, it's a way to spread the OTC service around the globe. So not just in Mexico or other Latin American countries, but people can spend worldwide, which was something to expand, basically. Yeah.
What does that mean? It's way easier to use a card.
Well, if you're doing crypto OTC outside of traditional banking, you would need to either meet up with someone and do a cash exchange, or what we've also made is a ATM code exchange, which is specific to Mexico, where you can withdraw a certain amount without having a card through the Mexican ATMs. But all of those are restricted to either Mexico or in real life meetups and stuff like that. You couldn't do that in other places like Europe, Australia, UK, and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. And there needs to be a pretty high level of trust for a cash for crypto swap.
Yeah. I mean, for most of these financial things, trust is necessary. And recommendations of people who already tried our service and passed it on to their friends, that's how it spreads, basically.
Okay, cool. Obviously, everybody out there needs to, do their due diligence. Don't come to me if something goes wrong. But cool. The other angle to Goblin Cards that I think is interesting is I've in the past, specifically in the past year, I've noticed a huge increase in the number of financial service providers offering cards. It seems like everybody's offering a card now. First, it was TransferWise had a card, and then SoFi had a card, and all and then Wealthfront had a card or whatever. Robinhood had a card, and then now it's like all the crypto ones have a card. All these different countries are starting to issue cards and stuff like that. And I don't know, I just feel like there's like a big like card craze from sort of non-bank financial entities.
You're right. It's a trend. It's a trend that I feel we've hit directly, and the competition is massive. Hence, why we've dialed it down to a very specific use case, which is no KYC. But that trend is big, and I think it's a transformation of where crypto is going. So these systems, the crypto system and the traditional banking system, are being connected into one.
So explain how it works for Goblin Cards.
Well, it's a corporate card on my corp, which is set up in Mexico, and technically, it's a prepaid credit card. Well, when you spend, when you deposit to it, they fill up your credit limit. Well, technically, that's how it works. We've partnered with a Mexican firm, which in itself is a partner of a Canadian firm here in Mexico, and they focus on emitting these cards. They're a pretty big company.
Do you know the guys at Swapido?
I saw them in the chat. They help with Bitcoin to pesos, right?
Yeah, yeah, and I think they're trying to get a card too. I was just wondering because they're kind of like Mexican Canadian.
They'll get one for sure. Then it's yeah, something like that they do. It's possible.
I'm pretty sure they've been talking about a card. I don't want to speak out of turn, but I'm pretty sure if I pulled it up. Um, so that's cool. So how does that work? Like, I mean, is that what's that look like in terms of making a relationship and getting a card issued?
Um, well, unlike other countries, let's say Europe, for example, it's way less regulated, which helps us even make it possible, right? So we consider Mexico and Latin America free places of the world, unlike other places, and where you can build something like this. It did take time, however, because creating first of all a company, getting the Mexican documents first of all, and creating a company, then getting the necessary
Approvals?
approvals. Yep. So because it is considered a high risk company because it handles finances and it has some different tax obligations. So getting all of that took some time. Then finding partners to work here in Mexico took some time, but overall, I say it's been pretty smooth.
That's crazy. Congratulations, man, because you're only 20 something years old, right?
Yep, that's right. Thank you. I'm 22.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if you wanted to drop it, but 22 years old. All right, so were you like a programming genius in Russia? Were you like a, I don't know, like a chess champion or something, or like what's how are you so good technically? I'm guessing you're pretty technical?
Um, no, I'm only good at chess, but I am not a programmer or a developer. I think it's due to my dad, who is also a businessman, and he kind of showed me the world where you have to create stuff and help people to get paid well. And that I've been in it my whole life, basically. And when I started out in Russia, I joined my dad, who was at the time an industrial Bitcoin miner. So I just helped him around with everything I could.
Hmm.
And when we moved here, I moved my wife here as well. Well, she was a girlfriend at the time. We married in Mexico. and I decided to build something of my own. But I would still consider it a family business because they are interconnected in some places.
That's cool. I'm sure some people love to hear that, multi-generational Bitcoiners.
Yeah, Bitcoin up and or down in Russia was a freedom tool, and so it is worldwide still. So the existence of crypto and Bitcoin made it even possible for us to move, basically, because when the war started, the sanctions blew off all the banks. Swift got canceled, so
Right.
basically, if crypto didn't exist, we couldn't even like move our money here at all. It would have been way way harder. Crypto is a Bitcoin tool. It is a surveillance tool as well, but in the right hands, it can be a freedom tool.
And were you already involved in crypto before the sanctions hit, or was it sort of a response to that?
Oh yes, so as I said, my dad was an industrial Bitcoin farmer.
So he's been in
So in
it since like a long time, huh?
2019,
Okay.
and
And the Siberian, big Siberian rivers or something, or like how's he doing it? How's he getting the electricity out in Siberia?
we had to close it down because the electricity part changed. In 2019, the electricity cost in Siberia was very low, and you could use it to mine Bitcoin. And also, the weather is really cold, which helps with the cooling
Cooling.
cost.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the government there is very uh, authoritative, like a dictatorship. And when they noticed that people were making money that way, they got it all for themselves. So they made it illegal to mine Bitcoin, basically, or unfeasible to. So if you mine Bitcoin, your energy prices go so high that it's doesn't make sense anymore.
Right. So you kind of pivoted from mining to exchange and
Yep,
services.
yep. Well, because when we moved to Mexico, we noticed that the electricity price here doesn't make sense to mine Bitcoin at all, or we couldn't get the big enough scale to maybe if you're friends with someone at the electrical nationalized electrical company here, maybe you can, but no, no, we couldn't.
No, that makes sense. And how are you finding the Bitcoin and crypto community in Mexico? This episode of the My Latin Life podcast is brought to you in part by Crema Social. Crema Social is like TikTok for international dating. It's an app you can download right now on your phone, and 3 out of 4 people on Crema are single women. The app was founded in Colombia, so unsurprisingly, there are a lot of Latinas on the app, by the way. So, how does it work? Crema Social is a social meal experience where you invite a hot girl for a lunch date via video call and food delivery. New concept, so you'll have to try it out for yourself, but this is probably the best way to meet Latinas before you visit the country. So if you're in Latin America or planning to visit Latin America, download Crema Social now and start getting dates right away. There will be a link in the description to download or just search Crema Social on your favorite app store. Have fun, guys.
Well, when we came around to play.com, it was really vibrant. I'm not sure how it is now, but there were weekly meetups happening in Tulum. It's called the Tulum Crypto Club. That's how we got to know our first people. I've made friends with the admin of one of them. He held an OTC chat, and that's how it all came to be. That was the very start.
Yeah, I've heard about this. I think wealthy expat Rafael has spoken there, and I think Mikel Girones, another friend of the pod. I think they've spoken at those events. Not sure if you saw those ones.
I've only been to a couple. I don't really like to go out much. I'm an online guy.
Makes sense. So you're in Mexico City now. Would you say the community is bigger in Riviera Maya or in Mexico City in terms of crypto?
I would say it's more seasonable in Riviera Maya.
Right.
So, but in Mexico City, it's really different types of people here. So if it was building a business like Goblin Cards, it would be way harder in Riviera Maya just because of uh, most people are visiting it, so they're having fun there. Even if they're crypto people and they have projects, they don't build them there as per se. While in Mexico City, everyone's building. Even if it's not crypto, everyone's building. If it's payments, if it's expats, if it's local people, everyone's hustling here.
Okay. So Riviera Maya is just where crypto people go for vacation or go for the winter.
Yeah, I would say that.
Yeah, you might be right. But you think at its peak, like that peak, January high season, there's more activity there than Mexico City?
For sure, there's way more like meetups where there's some music playing, some drinks out. That stuff happens in Riviera Maya. I haven't seen that in Mexico City.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's good. A lot of people do that. They'll do like Playa for 6 months and then Mexico City for 6 months, things like that.
But yeah, I've heard that. I've heard people do that.
And I'd love to hear about what was it like getting married in Mexico. Uh, how did that go?
That was really fun and interesting actually. When I moved, I had to get my documents by the way of getting a working visa. So I had to travel to Costa Rica to see the consulate and get a visa, right? By the basis of which, then when I went back to Mexico, I got my temporal residence. And my girlfriend, which I moved here as well with me, couldn't get one. So it was, I mean, we weren't thinking about it, but like that we should or shouldn't do it. We knew that we should get married, but it kind of had to push us to the thing where we have to, just to get her the documentations as well, the temporal residence, and we made a good deal out of it. We were married in Playa del Carmen.
Nice,
So
congrats. Um, I'm not sure if you did it in the church there in like downtown Playa del Carmen. Um, it's a good spot. I remember at Christmas they had like live rabbits and like farm animals like in the church in like a Christmas display.
wow, I haven't seen that. That's really dope.
But anyway, no, that's a common pathway a lot of people do. Like a lot of our clients is, if uh, both people don't qualify or they don't qualify as a family unit, then you just have one person basically apply as single, qualify, get the residency, and then you can do family reunification or a marriage visa to bring in the rest of the family.
Yep. I think it was like passed down almost instantly to her.
Oh wow, so it's a pretty good, smooth process.
It's smooth in Riviera Maya, but there's a lot of. Mm, I would say it makes way more sense in Mexico City now that I'm here because I see people here. They do it way more officially, and it's way more straightforward actually.
Mm.
Than in Riviera Maya, it's I had to break my head around a little bit, talk to a lot of different people to get that sorted. But it's still fine. It's still good. My dad, however, got a Mexican passport already, so I might get that in a couple of years.
Really?
Yeah, he had a sister. A sister for me. He had a daughter born here.
Okay, he had a daughter born here. Wow.
Yeah.
You're next to have a child born in Mexico.
um, maybe not soon, but yeah, Mexico's a good spot, I think.
It's a good spot. Do you find it pretty family friendly overall?
That's an interesting topic. My dad right now is in Spain, and that's really different for having children. So in Mexico and in the US too, I've heard is like you don't let your kids walk outside, go to a random shop. Uh, that doesn't really happen here. I wouldn't like probably let my kid out in Mexico City just to go around and have a day wherever. But that happens in Europe and in Spain, for example. So I wouldn't say maybe it's the best. It was the best for us because in our minds we also had to get different passports, new passports, because we didn't want to keep the Russian one as our main passport at all. But
Okay,
for
yeah,
people,
so you're definitely working towards citizenship then.
yeah, yeah. So that's why it was really important to get all the documents sorted legally. So in the end, it can end up with a passport.
Yeah, I think yeah, Mexico City is just obviously it's, a pretty insane place, 20 million people. Um there's if you leave Mexico City, you can find some family friendly places where the kids can go around. Um even spots like some small towns close to Mexico City like Valle de Bravo or Tepoztlan, something like that.
Yeah, you're right. I haven't been to those places as per se, so I didn't really think about them. But again, it's I don't have a kid yet to think about those things. Maybe that's why.
Yeah, Mexico City is a good place when you're young for sure. Um, no, that's cool. So coming back to Goblin cards and this theme of cards getting issued everywhere, are there any risks associated with that? I just saw like some new European crypto company was issuing cards. Bison, I think it's called Bison Bank, something like that. But like I'm seeing a lot of these things, a lot of these cards. Are there any downsides about your account getting frozen or other downsides that we're not thinking about? Hey guys, quick break from the episode to tell you about BitRefill. BitRefill allows you to shop online and in person without banks, converting your crypto directly into merchant balance. We're talking gift cards to Nike, Amazon, Apple, Airbnb, Hotels.com, and many more, all paid for with crypto. BitRefill offers more than 10,000 gift card options in 180 countries all across Latin America, including Brazil, Colombia, Mexico, Argentina, El Salvador, and many more. You can also apply the code MyLatinLife at checkout to get 10% back on your first purchase. Go to bitrefill.com for more information.
Well, yeah. If you go to a normal bank, let's say Bank of America, your deposits are secured up to 250,000 USD, right? So if the
Yeah,
bank goes under, the government pays you out. You get bailed out. If you're using these fintechs, right, what they're called, you're not insured, and that's why I see them as more of a spending thing. So I wouldn't necessarily keep my money there, right?
right.
They don't pay you any APRs usually, and it's more of a spending thing. Unlike traditional banks, where you'll go at a different route in a traditional bank. You would get a credit card. You would rack that limit as high as you can. You would present yourself as the best version of yourself to the bank. It's different use case at all, as I see it, in a traditional bank versus these fintechs. So they give you more freedom. For example, some of them they let you transfer. They keep in USD, transfer euros, transfer pesos, deposit crypto, spend without KYC like we do, right? Those are really different use case, let's say, to a traditional bank. But it might be really useful to someone, especially if you're in a country where you can't exchange crypto to uh, fiat that easily. It's a lifesaver.
And so is there like a main API powering this? Is there an API that, all the Mexican bank rails use or something, or how does that work? The scenes.
No, there's no main API. Well, there's one main system, the space system. for example, in Mexico, which is actually a pretty good system, as you can develop with it quite easily. The documentation is there, and it kind of works like a blockchain. To be honest, you can check transactions from the site Bank of Mexico, so the central bank website. You can come and check any transaction if it's there or not. So which one, incoming or outgoing from your account, if you know the details. And I would say it's an interesting system. It may be not the same as a Russian system where it's all super controlled, and that can be a little easier for the user. But again, you're paying way too much for that.
Tell me more about the what's it called? The spray? Spay?
SPAY, yes,
Is that an acronym?
it is. It is an acronym, SPEI. It's the Mexican. It's the one that gives you the claves. It's the Mexican
Mm.
payment system.
Sistema de pagos electrónicos interbancario. Okay, got it.
Yeah.
So you really gotta you this is like the framework you're working.
Uh, to this system, banks and other fintechs connect. They need a license for that, and we connect to one of those. So you probably heard of them, STP, which works with Albo and others, Arcus, which works with Plata and Dollar App, and these
Yeah,
payments.
dollar app, bro.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is
Yeah.
like Dollar App is a third layer to that.
Yeah, dude, everybody loves dollar app. I can't believe it took so long in the episode for me to remember them. Because I don't really use Mexican banking too much. Um, to have like a light footprint there. Um, do most of my stuff in the States. But yeah, like so there's like Klarna and I guess Plata's another one. No, not Klarna.
Klar.
Klar, yeah. Klar is like one of the big Mexican sort of fintech credit cards, and there's a bunch of those. Um, and you have Dollar App. Maybe you could explain it better than me, kind of the landscape.
A lot of them popped up in Mexico really, really fast. So this Mexico is developing really fast in general, especially the IT sector, which is fast to develop, right? You don't have to build something physical. And so from the time that we came to this day, so many popped up and so many got bigger. So Nubank, which is I think from Argentina or
Brazil.
Brazil,
Yeah, they
from
opened in
Brazil.
Mexico.
Mercado Pago is Argentinian, as I know. Plata is the old team of a Russian bank, which also moved when the war started,
Mm.
and they're building the same thing here. Yeah, it's a great place to build fintechs right now. Mexico is great for that.
Tarjeta Plata. That's another good one. So when I was looking at the Bison Bank one. You probably never heard about this one. It's in Portugal. And yeah, it basically seems to sit on top of this thing called Pecun Pay, which is, and so it's basically like a white label. Like it sits on top of a white label, and it's sort of like they're applying branding. So is that kind of what everyone is doing? Is like everybody is sitting on top of a white label?
Correct. In the end, it always comes down to someone who has the license to operate and issue Mastercards, for example, or Visa cards. Only a select number of companies and banks have this license, so it's always like one layer on top of another layer on top of another layer, and the fintech is like the very last layer.
So how many layers are we talking?
Well, so Dollar App would be three layers, right? So the central Mexican system, then goes Arcus, which is has the license and is connected, and then goes Dollar App, which is connected to Arcus.
How do you spell Arcus?
Arcus.
Arcus Eco. Okay. And so, and who else sits on top of Arcus?
Plata, for example,
Plata.
sits on Arcus. You can easily identify this by the clave. So If the clave starts with a 7, it's Arcus. If it starts with a 6, it's STP. If it starts with 0, 3, it's Inbursa Bank, and so on and so forth.
Okay, so those are the big two, STP and Arcus, and they're kind of competitors.
Yeah, I guess they are. STP is a native Mexican company, and Arcus is a Mastercard owned company. Uh, they do, I guess, yeah, compete a bit.
Okay, and so I guess you had to apply to these white labels to work together and sort of convince them that it was worth working with you, and I don't know, printing the cards with your logo, and I guess you have to probably guarantee like a minimum number of accounts, or and say, we estimate we'll open 1,000 accounts per year or something like that. How does that work?
Well, if you connect to STP, you sign a deal, your company, you pass the KYB, the verifications, right? And if they let you work with them, you pay a monthly fee plus a set amount per transaction. So it's like, I think 2 pesos or 5 pesos per transaction. If the more transactions you do, the less you pay per transaction. Our Goblin cards are not connected to STP directly. There is an interesting thing going on. So we have a loan company that is connected, and the loan company issues corporate cards. So it's like a two-way system.
Yeah, you mentioned this at the very beginning, where you like were very clear to emphasize that it was a corporate card. So is there a distinction there between sort of corporate and personal cards?
Yes. So if you open a personal card, it cannot be no KYC, first of all, because it has to be issued to a name. If every card has to be issued to a name, and it has to be issued to yours. But you get your own account. So, for example, you can transfer, send, receive, whatever. A corporate card is only for spending. It's the business card that your employer gives you to spend on gas, right? It's for spending only, and that's the main difference.
That makes sense. I mean, that's a lot of what we preach at My Latin Life is like, asset protection, creating corporate structures.
I can't agree more. Privacy, privacy of your funds. It's gonna be like the most important thing going on in the next 10 years. I feel
Hmm.
so. The world is
Tell me
changing
about that.
fast.
Tell me this theory. Why?
Well, if you noticed, Mexico has recently implemented the necessary biometric curb for every citizen. Installed AI cameras all over Mexico City, and I don't per se think these things are bad or good. I just know they are happening, and in places with concrete like power level structures, so dictatorships, let's say Russia, it's way easier to implement these things, and they have been implemented years ago, 10, 15 years ago. So the world is changing fast. The risk grows, the trust falls, and technology is going to save us from that. It's going to help out. Well, that's what the people in power feel, right? They're going to implement controlling technology for our finances and basically our lives to combat this, let's say, threat of a low trust environment. And it's happening worldwide. You notice it everywhere at the same time. So I think just recently, like less than a week ago, in the UK, they've banned withdrawing more than £2,000 a day from your bank for any reason. So there's no way you can withdraw more ever. Doesn't matter who you are or what kind of company you have, what kind of licenses you have, you cannot withdraw more. And that is going to continue.
Maybe for corporate accounts, there's no such rule.
No, that's the main thing. So it's for any account in the UK. So not even a business
Yeah.
can withdraw
No, but
more.
my point is sometimes they put these restrictions on like personal accounts or on individuals, but then a business, it's they kind of play by different rules. Maybe it's not the case with this one in the UK, but it's a good way to think about it.
They're gonna try for sure. It's a ongoing process. So if they don't take away one freedom now, they're gonna do it tomorrow and gonna try after tomorrow as well. And as a person, you can't really, as I see it, do much. So in Russia, I've been to protests. I've been to whatever, right? I've been even. They took me to the police station, took my fingerprints just because I was out or saying that my government is bad, right? I don't feel you can do much more than actually think for yourself and protect yourself. And that's why I think people who will focus on privacy will see it way differently than people who either ignore it or try to change what's happening. You can't really change. I mean, I see people on YouTube, they go around breaking these AI cameras. Like, okay, maybe you can get in jail and they're going to set up new ones, right? I don't think that's the way to combat this. I don't think you can really combat this. You can just adapt, and this is a way of adapting.
Tell me more about this, like more your theories on privacy and crypto and where things are going.
Well, maybe one thing you've noticed, right, that these cards are popping up. I don't think it's too much of a coincidence. I think it's these systems, right, which were separate at first, the traditional system, the banking system, and the crypto system, they're merging together. Uh, so right now, if you go to in the US, if you go and take out a loan, they are actually legally obliged to also count your crypto holdings, right? Well, even your fart coin holdings, and that is the merging of these systems. They are now becoming one system, and blockchain is transparent. It's forever, and it's a surveillance tool. So every transaction that has been in crypto is always going to be in crypto. It's always going to be secure there. It's never going to be hidden.
Right.
So it is a surveillance tool. I see it.
And so the way to get around that is sort of to obfuscate the ownership of the crypto.
Well, yes. So if you tie your crypto, let's say, to your name, your Coinbase account, or soon your bank account, right? You can just deposit. I feel it's gonna come soon. Like you can just deposit to Bank of America your USDT, but that way you let them know that you are the owner of the crypto. Uh, and you don't have to do that to spend. So a lot of people have already catched on to this, and that's why they use OTC services. So the money just goes out of nowhere to nowhere, and that's doesn't mean it's their money. Yeah.
Because I guess you got to kind of do it on both sides. You have to buy no KYC, and then you have to sell or spend no KYC.
Yep. Or earn in crypto straight away. Basically, like cash used to work, but they're phasing out cash.
It's true. I mean, cash is the OG anonymous currency. So what do you use for earning crypto? Like when you want to get paid, what do you use?
Oh, we accept all kind of crypto. We don't Bitcoin, Solana, Ethereum, USDT, USDC, but Monero, for example, which we also work with, but it can really easily be phased out. So the way to sell Monero for USDT, they're taking really hard control of that right now. It has been removed from Binance this year, and I think it's only left on two exchanges now. So Kraken and Bitfinex. And I think they're going to get regulated as well. And that is the only crypto that actually has a market and is private. So the transactions are hidden and the balances are hidden. And it's not a surveillance tool as per se, but that's why it's being phased out really quick.
Okay. And so what do you do if, like, when you want to accept crypto, let's just say I wanted to give you $5,000 for some help with the project. Like, What would be a good way to accept that?
Well, first, I think the first thing is self custody. So, not a Binance, not a Coinbase, not a Kraken, right? Not an exchange with your KYC, but maybe a wallet. Just a wallet with those 12 words that you have to write down or remember. I think that's the first logical step to stop being massively surveilled, just like a real bank, because if you do accept it on your KYC account, there is kind of no difference from a bank. I mean, again, in the
Right.
UK, I
You
think
got
they
to
can.
report it.
Yeah, I think in the UK they already are able to just deduct from your
Yeah, they just
Coinbase
see it.
account.
It's like integrated.
Yeah. They're allowed to deduct. So if you owe money to the government, they're allowed to take money out of your Coinbase account. I am not 100% sure, but that's what I've read. That's how it already works in the UK, and it's gonna work like that in most places as well.
Uh-huh. So the idea is to get paid directly to a hardware wallet.
It doesn't have to be a hardware wallet like those things that you buy. It can be installed on your phone, but not an exchange. So just a wallet with those 12
Okay,
words.
just get paid to a wallet, a
Yeah.
non-exchange wallet.
Yeah, that's the first thing I would do.
Okay, and then if I get paid to a non-exchange wallet, then how do I? What's the process from there to then spend it as Goblin Card? As we get to wrapping up with the couple minutes we have left.
Well, if you're spending with Goblin Card, you would order a Goblin Card and you would deposit to a Goblin Card. If you're spending with one of our competitors, you would do the same. If you want a large amount, you would find a trusted contact and you would do an OTC exchange somewhere in a safe place in Mexico City, in Rivera Maya, in other places as well. But yeah, it's a thing to keep at back of your mind because you can notice the world is changing and you can kind of think a little bit forward.
Yeah, and so I guess it converts it to pesos at some point.
That's how our card precisely works. Our card is in the Mexican jurisdiction, not in the US. So our balance is kept in pesos and it automatically transfers to whatever currency you need when you spend. So there's no FX fee, actually, which
No
is
FX.
kind of a standing point of our product.
So does it convert to pesos basically when you do a transaction, or does it do it before that and you have like sort of a reserve of like, oh, I have 20,000 pesos or
So Dollar app keeps it in USD and converts it when you spend. But we keep it in pesos straight away. At the moment, we are developing another version with another payment provider, but right now that's how it works.
okay, so it basically gets converted to fiat sort of your
Yep.
platform.
Yep, but not tied to your name, and that's most important.
Right. Yeah, that's huge. That's huge. Cool, man. Well, we are running up on time, so do you want to maybe take this time and let people know where they can how to get a Goblin card, how to sign up? We'll make a little My Latin Life promo code, or they can mention My Latin Life.
Definitely. Just visit goblincards.com and find your way on the website to my contact. Don't forget to mention MyLatinLife to receive a discount. And yeah, stay safe, keep private, stay vigilant, stay smart.
Cool. So I think people are gonna get like a free $25 or something when they sign up and mention My Latin Life. There'll be a link in the description to the website or to the next steps to obtain a Goblin card. Do people have to be a Mexican resident or anybody?
We take no KYC, so we don't care
Anybody.
what you are.
Amazing. Love it. Great. Cool. Any final words before we wrap up?
Thank you for having me on. It was a pleasure.
Absolutely, man. Thanks for coming on. Really cool to hear your story all the way from Siberia to Mexico. That's pretty far, dude. How many kilometers is that? 100,000, 10,000 kilometers?
That is really far. I think it might be more. It's the opposite end of the world. It's like you could drill a hole and end up in Siberia.
I think the
Straight up.
Mexicans came down from Siberia, though. or something. That's what they say. The land bridge theory.
Oh yeah, yeah, I've heard about that too.
Who knows? Who knows?
Who knows?
So we'll leave it there. So this has been another episode of the My Latin Life podcast. Our guest today, again, Herman from GoblinCards.com. Go get your Goblin card. And please subscribe to the podcast as well, the My Latin Life podcast. We put out 2 episodes a week with amazing guests like Herman, and you won't want to miss an episode. Ciao for now.